Dark greetings, fellow ghouls and ghosts. My name is Chris. Welcome to the Mysterious Pals. This week, we're going to be talking about something spooky, because this is our Halloween episode.
Ooh.
And I want to introduce the best ghoul in the streets, Jordan. Jordan, welcome to the show.
Hello, Chris.
We are going to talk about something super spooky today, probably. And I want to ask you first, what do you call a lost wolf?
Lost wolf?
A werewolf. Go listen to last week's episode about wolves.
That's so dumb.
Yeah.
A werewolf.
Yeah. Okay. This week, we're going to be talking about something.
I picture that. I heard you doing that in a friend of ours voice.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, I know. So this week, we're going to be talking about something to do with Halloween. And I want to ask you first. Actually, I want to tell you a story first. This goes back to... This story is from Arabian Nights, also known as 1001 Nights.
Mm.
So, which is a collection of Middle Eastern folk tales. So our story tonight comes from the Middle Eastern pre-Islamic folklore.
Oh, cool.
But I'm gonna start with a story, a tale, if you will, of Sidi Nouman. And this is a truncated version, okay? So you want to read the whole story, it's found on the internet. It's great, from that collection of stories. Anyway, Sidi Nouman is a young man from Baghdad. He marries a beautiful woman named Amin. However, he soon notices her strange behavior. Amin refuses to eat with him and often disappears at night. Curious and concerned, Sidi Nouman decides to follow her one night. He discovers that his new wife, Amin, visits graveyards and feasts on the flesh of the dead. Horrified by this revelation, Sidi Nouman confronts her. Amin, realizing she has been discovered, attacks him. However, Sidi Nouman manages to subdue her and takes her to a wise man who knows how to deal with this type of thing. The wise man advises Sidi Nouman to sprinkle a special powder on Amin, which transforms her back into her true form. She is then banished from the city.
Jeez.
And Sidi Nouman is freed from her malevolent influence.
But wait, didn't he get the powder to turn her back?
So it got rid of her curse.
But why would she still be banished?
Hey man, I didn't write the book, okay? It's an ancient collection of folklore.
That's mean. So they didn't end up happily ever after.
No, which is fine. That's real. That's real.
It's real.
It's a real story, kids.
It's life.
Yeah. So Sidi Nouman is a story, this part of his story. He discovers that his wife Amin is a ghoul.
I never really understood what a ghoul is.
I know. That's why I came up with this. That's why I researched it for this story.
Like, is it a zombie? Is it?
When people said, when they say like during Halloween, they're like ghouls and ghosts and stuff like that. You know, what is a ghoul?
It's not a ghost, apparently, because they're saying ghouls and ghosts. So, like, what the hell is a ghoul?
What is a ghoul? Do you have any idea what a ghoul is?
The only thing I think of, and it's kind of based on your story, it's somewhat resembles a zombie. Didn't you say it was like he was
feasting on things? Yeah, in the graveyard. But dead flesh. Zombies like new flesh.
That's true.
So the one thing that we'll say about this story is that it teaches the valuable lesson of the dangers of deception.
Don't date a ghoul.
Yeah, the importance of vigilance, wisdom and knowledge as tools for protection. Specifically, he's dealing with a wise man to help him.
Trust your elders.
Yes, and the power of good over evil. So, we're going to be talking about ghouls this week.
Sweet.
On our Halloween episode, what the hell is a ghoul?
I want to know, yeah.
Yeah.
Why did they banish that girl?
Well, because she was evil.
Yeah, but she was cured, right?
He got rid. So supposedly the powder got rid of her ghoulness.
Yeah,
but she still was evil. How did she get to be a ghoul? We're going to go into that.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I see what you did there.
Yeah. So we're going to jump right in here to what is a ghoul? But first I want to ask you, why didn't the skeleton to go to the party?
Why?
Because he had no body to go with. Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah, okay.
Ooh.
So at the most basic level, a ghoul is a symbol of death, even the symbol of chaos and disorder, some say. It's cannibalistic in nature, and it has a preference for preying on the dead, highlighting its role as a creature that exists on the fringes of life and death. The ghouls are not just killers. They desecrate bodies of the dead, feeding on human flesh and violating sanctity of the grave. In cultures where proper treatment of the dead is paramount importance, such as Arabia, pre-Islamic, Arabian, even Islamic culture, the importance of the dead and that sanctity, ghouls represent the ultimate violation of both social and religious norms. By feasting on corpses and desecrated graves, ghouls undermine the sanctity of burial and respect for the own.
I mentioned that.
dead.
Yeah. Yep.
Many ghoul stories involve themes of deception, where the ghoul appears as a harmless or even helpful figure before revealing its true nature. So ghouls play a moral role in Arab folklore, often embodying the consequences of violating societal norms. So we're going to be going over ghouls as they relate to folklore from pre-Islamic Arabia.
Okay.
So Arab folklore is a rich tapestry of myths, legends, supernatural stories passed down through generations, often orally, in societies ranging from the Arabian Peninsula to the Levant and North Africa. So all these stories are kind of a combination of things from all these different regions of this part of the world, especially during this time. Throughout their entire history. These folktales serve as both entertainment and moral lessons, embedding cultural and religious values in everyday life. One of the key features of the Arab folklore is a deep fascination with supernatural. Stories often feature creatures and beings that represent the mysteries and dangers of the world beyond human understanding. Among these beings are the Jinn, G-I-N-N.
Yeah. Genies, right?
No.
Or D-G-I-N?
No.
No. Different.
I don't know. You're talking about from What We Do in the Shadows?
No, but like I know in Arab, even Islamic folklore, there's jinn, like D-G-I-N.
Okay, so
kind of like genie type.
So maybe this will kind of be okay. So why don't you just listen?
Just shut your mouth.
Yeah,
open your ears.
We'll get there. Put your listening ears on.
Sorry.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna go back. Among these beings are the Jinn.
Okay.
These entities created from the smokeless fire that coexists with humans and who can be benevolent or malevolent. So the Jinn are kind of like not humans or dead humans. They are like otherworldly creatures like devils, demons, that type of thing. So they're not really, sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad.
Like the yokai.
Probably.
He said they come from smokeless fires?
Yeah, that's how it's explained. While the Jinn have been extensively studied in Islamic theology and literature, there are more terrifying and specific entities, like the Ghoul, which have a more sinister and direct impact on humans. Ghouls occupy a special place in Arab folklore as agents of terror and destruction, often linked to death, cannibalism, and desecration of the dead. Ghouls prey on human fears of the unknown, especially those in relation to isolation, danger, and the natural elements beyond human control. For Arabs, particularly those who lived in nomadic lifestyles in deserts and in hospitable landscapes, ghouls symbolize very real dangers lurking in the wilderness, such as starvation, illness, perilous nature of travel. So the Jinn are these otherworldly beings.
Yeah.
The ghouls are Jinn who are malevolent.
Oh, all right.
They can be evil. So they're kind of like, we think of demons and angels, kind of thing, maybe. Is that what we can think of it? Like, but these are not. Jinn can also be helpful.
Yeah, we have both. But the ghouls are not. They're malevolent. Is that what you're saying?
Malevolent. Ghouls are like evil.
But if you're not dead, do you have to really worry about them?
You're not dead?
Yeah, if they're going to harm you. They only go after like dead stuff, right?
Well, let's find out.
Okay.
Come along with me. So the word ghoul gets its roots in as an Arabic verb meaning to seize or to ravage. Now, I didn't do extensive research in ghouls across. They talk a little bit about it. We go into a little bit of it in my research here about like some of the things I found, like trying to say that it relates to other ghouls.
Mm-hmm.
But I think generally, from what my understanding is, ghoul, the idea of what a ghoul is, what we get in Western culture, it comes from this concept.
Okay.
The ghoul appears as one of the most terrifying figures in pre-Islamic Arabian mythology. Is portrayed as a dangerous being that haunts the desert, luring travelers to their deaths. All these stories are like, they are relating to people disappearing and then maybe being cursed in some way, turning into a
like sirens luring sailors to their death.
Maybe. Yeah, I don't think they lure them. I think they just take them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The ghoul was believed to be an especially dangerous type of jinn, one that could change shape and disguise itself to trap unsuspected victims. So it also, not only is it evil and eats eats humans, cannibalism, it is also a shapeshifter.
Okay.
Unlike some jinn, which could be good or neutral in their interaction with humans, ghouls can be considered evil through and through. In pre-Islamic poetry, ghouls are often invoked as symbols of death and terror. Poets, especially those of the Bedouin tribes, who use the image of the ghoul to illustrate the dangers of venturing into the wilderness alone or the inevitability of death for those who stray too far from the safety of the tribe. With the rise of Islam in the 7th century, Arab folklore did not disappear. Instead, many pre-Islamic beliefs were adapted to fit within the new religious context. We talked about that when we talked about the Pillar of the World episode.
Yep.
That, the rise of Islam didn't wipe out. They just kind of brought it all in.
Christianity did the same thing.
Yeah. Ghouls, for example, continue to exist as cultural consciousness of Arab societies, but are often interpreted through the lens of Islamic theology. While the ghoul's predatory nature remained, it is often described as a manifestation of evil jinn, reflecting Islamic teachings on the nature of supernatural beings. Islamic scholars and writers begin to discuss ghouls in conjunction with the broader category of jinn, categorizing them as particularly vile and dangerous subset. Ghouls are often portrayed as shape-shifting creatures who could take the form of animals or even human beings to deceive and entrap their victims. So these are like not humans. They're evil demon type things that can shapeshift and lure people away, can eat people. They're just terrible.
Okay, so they're typically luring them to their death. Right?
Yes, obviously. Yes, absolutely.
So then they can eat them because they like to eat the dead?
Many different things, yes. Okay, so the ghoul's physical and behavioral characteristics vary slightly depending on the region and the storyteller, obviously, because it's stories passed on through mythology, folklore.
Yep.
Typically, ghouls are described as grotesque, shape-shifting creatures with an insatiable hunger for human flesh. So I guess they eat both living and dead.
Okay.
They often inhabit graveyards, in abandoned places, in desolate areas where they can be prey on the dead or living with relative ease. In their true form, ghouls are usually depicted as monstrous beings with animal-like features. They may have elongated limbs, clawed hands, and sharp teeth, giving them the appearance of predatory animal.
Oh.
Some say their eyes glow in the dark.
Yeah.
Okay. Their strength and agility allow them to ambush humans easily, especially in places far from civilization.
Oh.
One of their most terrifying abilities is their capacity for shape-shifting. They can take the form of animals, such as hyenas or camels, or even disguise itself as a human. These things just suck. Like, it's just But also,
they got all the abilities.
But you also think about like all these descriptions go into like they inhabit places that humans shouldn't be, especially alone. Whenever they venture away from their tribe, yeah. So they're trying to be like
cautionary.
Don't go anywhere.
Yeah.
Stay with us. Don't be stupid, because there's a lot of predators out there that could take you out too. Or you can get lost.
Right.
Once a victim is in the reach of a ghoul, the ghoul reveals its true form and attacks, often with the intention of consuming the flesh of the victim. Ghouls are seen as cunning and ruthless predators. They are patient, waiting for the opportunity to strike. Unlike other supernatural beings in the folklore that we're speaking of, they may interact with humans for a variety of reasons. Ghouls are primarily driven for the need to consume flesh. In stories, ghouls are scavengers lurking near graveyards to feed on corpses of the dead.
Yeah.
However, they are not limited to feasting on the dead. They will feast on living if opportunity presents itself. So as we get into like how society works, and especially pre-Islamic Arabian society, there's a lot of unforgivable deserts and just in general harsh lands that serve the ghouls, like serve as a good place for ghouls to hunt humans.
Yeah.
The desert was a place of mystery and death where travelers could easily become lost or fall victim to natural hazards. In many of the stories, ghouls preyed on those who traveled alone at night, highlighting the dangers of being separated from the group.
Maybe ghouls got that lost army you were talking about a couple weeks ago.
Cambyses.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Ghouls.
I mean, it would suck. I mean, a lot of ghouls. Like an army of ghouls take out 50,000 men? Ugh. Ghouls did not just serve as a cautionary tale against cannibalism or like more things that are like seen as like definitely wrong. They could also be cautionary tales warning people of the danger of straying too far from the safety of the tribe, obviously, as you just said, but they were also used to teach moral lessons about greed, arrogance, and carelessness. So, for example, some stories ghouls lured greedy merchants or travelers to their doom, offering from riches or safety, only to reveal their true nature once they're close. Come with me, I'll show you how to make more money. Or like, come with me, I'll show you how to do something else.
I don't know if I'd rather see one of these things or what was the one from Japanese folklore you did last one?
No parabo.
I don't know if I'd rather see one of those or one of these things.
I mean, this thing just
You're
seems
gonna die
like
either way, I feel like.
But no, because they scared
kill
them.
you. Yeah,
no,
they scared you.
parabo just scared them.
Yeah.
This one wants to eat you. It's gonna suck. Either way, this sucks. But also, like, you think about like a hyena or like
well, right, you say the like
predator,
scavenger kind of things. Like those, these are things they're coming across, in their daily lives. Maybe like these are animals that they're seeing out in like out in the wild. They're kind of
and they're in a desert hungry too,
right? And they're taking those elements of those animals, the scavenger type animals, and incorporating it into this ghoul creature who's kind of a scavenger too.
Yeah, it seems like that's like the entire purpose, but it's also, a spirit thing. It's obviously, like I said, yokai. I don't know what the other word would be that for, like in our culture, like
some kind of like spiritual entity.
Demon. I think it was a demon.
Yeah, but it not necessarily like the same connotation as like the Judeo-Christian type of demon. It seems like, you know what I'm saying, because they could be.
Demon aren't humans. They weren't humans. They're just completely evil.
Right, but like
angels.
Yeah,
like angels aren't humans.
No.
From what I'm not saying that's true. I'm just saying that from what we understand. In the stories. So with the rise of Islam in the 7th century, as I said, these stories of ghouls from all over this region, from the Levant to Northern Africa and things like that, was put into Islamic theology.
Okay.
So they reshaped the ghoul, but it was still part of the story. They didn't get rid of it completely. The Jinn are creatures made from smokeless fire who, like humans, had free will and could choose to be good or evil. So this all right now is from how it was put into Islamic teachings or theology. And it kind of took all of the different theories or folklore about the
regional folklore
and put it all together into one overall mythology.
Fine.
While some jinn can interact peacefully with humans, the ghouls belong to the subset of jinn who seeks only harm. These malevolent entities exist to lead people astray, cause destruction, and feast on the dead. While the Quran does not specifically mention ghouls, Islamic scholars do discuss them as part of the teachings or part of the story.
Okay.
In these texts, ghouls are generally described as malicious beings that roam the earth and harm humans. Some Islamic scholars believe that the ghouls were simply evil jinn that had taken on a monstrous form, while others view them as distinct creatures.
So, I mean, it's pretty similar.
Yeah.
You got your Jinn. You got your malevolent ghoul form of that.
Yeah.
Version of that.
I think so.
Yeah.
I don't know what I got, but you tell me I got it.
I'm just saying what you said. It's seems kind of the same.
Yeah. I think the idea is they kind of codified it as like, this is what it is.
Right.
Kind of the same, but like because there's, and I kind of took a generalist view of this.
Sure.
Because of the research done recently was not pre-7th century in general. But all of the stories from all the different regions kind of got molded into one anyway.
Well, because they're also unifying.
But it's also because a lot of travelers were hearing the story that it was basically the same story that was just getting twisted a little bit here and there.
So this is just kind of making it one cohesive thing.
Yeah. Ghouls are definitely evil things that are not human. They're not born as human. They want to cause you harm and eat you. And their entire purpose is to cause hell.
Okay.
Again, like we would in Catholicism think of demons. Come to earth. Or come from hell to destroy humans.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go into some famous ghoul stories in Arab folklore.
Ooh, yeah. I like this.
Yeah.
They don't have the same happy ending as the one you told at the beginning of the show, Chris?
Maybe. So the first one is, why did the ghost go to the party?
I don't know. Why?
The boogie.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, there it is. Are these actually in your notes, or did you just decide to like do this throughout?
No, they're in the notes.
Okay.
I wrote them earlier.
When does this one actually come out?
On
Halloween?
No, it's like the week of Halloween.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the week. I think it's like because Halloween's a third Thursday. I think. Anyway, let's go into some famous ghoul stories in Arab folklore.
Hit me.
So while these stories in folklore vary across regions, each with their own local flavor, but they still retain the central characteristics of a ghoul was a flesh-eating, deceptive monster. So as I said, Arabian Nights with the 1001 Nights, which is that famous collection of Middle East folk tales that I talked about. There are many different stories within the collection that have ghouls as like their antagonists.
Yeah.
Some of them appear as antagonists, often luring protagonists into dangerous situations through deception and shapeshifting. One of the most well-known stories of a ghoul from 1001 Nights is a tale of a traveler who encounters a beautiful woman stranded in a desert. After helping her, he begins to notice strange behavior from the woman and eventually discovers that she is not human at all, but a ghoul in disguise. The ghoul intends to eat him, but through cleverness and invocation of holy verses, the traveler manages to defeat the creature. So one of the things, I'm going to say it now, and I think I go to it later, but I'll bring it up again, is one of the things that the Islamic version of the ghoul, or what they added for that, is that ghouls can be defeated or held back by holy invocations that like.
So like kind of like an exorcism.
That or also using the Quran, using the teachings from the Quran to defeat them or to hold them back. So, but I think before that it wasn't the folklore before that didn't include those type of things. Yeah. In some regions it did, but this is codifying and saying, now this is how you defeat them based on our teachings. Use our teachings, use the religious leaders can help you defeat them.
Okay.
In the North African tradition, there was a ghoul-related story of a ghoul who was said to inhabit remote mountains and ruins where they ambush travelers who are unfamiliar with the terrain. These ghouls are often depicted as more animalistic than their Arabian counterparts, relying on brute force to overpower their victims. Some North African ghouls involve curses or ancient magic, where a person who has committed great evil in their life is transformed into a ghoul as a punishment for their sins. So this is saying that people can be transformed into a ghoul in the North African tradition of the folklore. In the Levant, ghouls are often associated with desolate places such as caves and desert oases. Oases?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Oasis.
We'll say desert oases is. In the deserts. Some places in the desert. One common motif in the ghoul stories from the Levant is that of the desert guide ghoul, which is a shapeshifter who appears as a helpful guide offering assistance to lost travelers. These travelers, desperate for help, follow the ghoul deeper into the desert, only to be attacked once they are too far away to find their way back, too far away from their party to ask for help or scream for help. Such stories were likely cautionary tales aimed at those who might be tempted to trust strangers in unfamiliar and dangerous environments.
Well, that's terrible because you're already lost. You're like, dude, we're going to die out here.
Yeah.
Oh, there's this nice person. It's going to kill you.
It's like
it'd be terrible.
The way Jafar got Aladdin to go into into them to get the lamp.
Yeah. I think I would, if I was stranded, in the mountains, desert, forest, and I just saw a person, I'm like a little weird, but you're out there long enough, I'm like, I'm gonna take a risk and trust this person.
Yeah. Again, it was hell living a long time ago, as we said in every episode so far, I think.
But even now, if I was just in the desert or in mountains or forest,
I hope to never be in a desert like that.
But you don't have cell service or any reception or anything like that. Legit lost. You don't know where you're going. It's kind of the same thing, right?
Yeah.
You're gonna hope for the best. I'm gonna keep walking this direction. Maybe I'll come across something or somebody. Come across somebody, and they're like, "Oh, this person's gonna help me."
And they turn into a monster and eat you. I'm like, thank God.
Yeah, I'm like, I wanted this then anyway. So
yeah, I don't want to die painful, slow death. I'd rather just be torn apart.
Right.
One particular terrifying aspect of the ghoul folklore is the idea that ghouls could sometimes be former humans. And I think this was taken out of the Islamic teachings of ghouls, that they can't be, they're just evil demons.
Yeah.
But in some versions of the tales, a person who commits particular heinous acts such as a cannibalism or murder could be cursed to become a ghoul in the afterlife. This concept not only makes the ghoul more relatable, since it could, in theory, have once been a human, but also ties into broader themes of morality and justice in Arab folklore. Transformation into a ghoul serves as a punishment for violating societal norms, particularly those related to respect for the dead, their prohibition of cannibalism. Thank God.
Don't eat people.
Yeah. Another famous example of ghoul stories in the Arabian teachings or folklore will come from Bedouin oral traditions. In these stories, ghouls are often seen as manifestations of the wilderness itself, creatures that personify the isolation, danger, and death that the desert represents. For nomadic Bedouins who lived much of their lives traversing harsh landscapes, the ghoul was both literal and symbolic threat. These stories served not only to entertain, but also to reinforce the importance of tribal unity and vigilance in the face of dangers posed by the natural world. Throughout all these stories, certain themes remain consistent. Ghouls are deceptive, dangerous, and often associated with death and burial sites. Whether they appear in the deserts, mountains, or the ruins, they embody the fear of the unknown and risk associated with straying too far from safety of civilization.
But don't ever leave your house.
Never. Just stay in there, play some video games, watch some YouTube, you'll be all right.
Let's get everything ordered, get it brought to you.
Yeah, we live in a world where you don't have to actually leave your house for anything.
Crazy.
I mean, if you want a doctor, I guess, but you can probably get a doctor come to your house. I mean, they do that.
Do they?
Yeah. You can have nurses come to your house, it's expensive.
Oh, yeah, sure.
But I mean, depending who you are, insurance might pay for it.
Yeah. They're like they think you're like an invalid or like
like a 30-year-old man.
Yeah,
hey, what's up?
They're coming, they're just sitting on the couch, your feet up. Why am I here? I don't know. I don't want to leave my house. Change me.
Yeah. Let's go into some theories.
Okay. There's already the theme of.
Yeah, why don't you give me your take?
Okay. Because you've done a few of these types of things before. There's also a moral kind of thing, or like a
cautionary.
Yeah, thank you. We're like, don't do this or don't do that. At least in this case, don't go too far from your tribe. Don't wander off alone. Don't trust strangers, kind of thing.
Don't be greedy.
Don't be greedy. Yep, because you've done it. That's kind of the same underlying thing that was with the Japanese one you did. I think it was an underlying thing with the one you did that was in the one that was like the horseman thing too.
Oh yeah, Naklavi.
That
was also a way to explain the changing of seasons.
Yeah, that's true. But also the
mermaids.
Yeah, there's the idea in
Sirens.
multiple cultures. There's different, like with the Murray's thing you did, they have different interpretations of mermaids or how like they treat people or how they act around people. It could be good or bad, but there's like commonality between them.
Yeah.
I think is really cool. So this is definitely the same case as in regards to the ghoul.
Yeah,
So there's different parts. They all got incorporated somewhat into Islam, kind of unified in like one type of thing. Like this is what a ghoul actually is. Like there's this, here now they're like we're saying this now. This is what a ghoul is. But like before that, these different cultures in that region had a ghoul, but they're slightly different. But they all had an idea of a ghoul, which I think is really cool. I think that in history, like we talk about certain creatures of lore across the world, or even like across like a country, they'll have that same thing, creature, but they're like slightly different variations of it.
Yeah,
and it pertains to like their region alone. Like even like the yokai, when I talked about the frog turtle guy,
yeah,
kind of varied what they did, what they didn't do, how to defeat it. I think it's kind of neat.
I did just look up because I want to make sure I didn't say something incorrect. I want to make sure I said it right. That the idea of a ghoul does originate in pre-Islamic Arabia. So
you said that.
This, but like I wasn't totally sure. But it did, and then it got blown all over the world. Like there's the idea of a ghoul. I mean, we say it every Halloween here in America.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
Ghouls and ghosts and like all this, but it came from pre-Islamic Arabia.
Isn't there? I know there's ghosts and goblins, but isn't there game ghosts and goblins? Isn't there ghouls and
ghosts?
Ghouls and ghouls.
Probably. Yeah. I mean, ghouls are just like again, like it's just.
I remember that video game. Like I don't know what a ghoul is. I still don't know until now.
Well, and we're gonna go into
Chris.
like it might even be you got in America or in Western culture, it may have gotten changed into a zombie.
Okay.
Kind of like the idea of a ghoul kind of becomes a zombie.
Eating human
over time.
Flesh, yeah.
It kind of transforms into a zombie in Western cultures. All right, so let's go into some theories. How do you know if a vampire is sick?
How?
He's coughing. Yeah.
All right.
The persistence of ghoul legends in Arab folklore can be attributed to several anthropological, psychological, and cultural factors. So let's go into. First, we're going to talk about the anthropological explanations. Ghouls as explanations for natural phenomena. One of the most common theories regarding the origin of a ghoul is that they serve as explanations for mysterious or frightening natural phenomena. So we talked about that.
Yeah.
They're just trying to scare people away from getting lost in the wilderness.
Or they're just not understanding nature or certain events, natural events. You're just like, well, we got to attribute to something.
Yeah, they say that, and this theory is like people use the ghoul as an answer to why someone got lost, or someone disappeared, or someone died.
Yes. That's what we were saying in the last episode with the witches. Like, we don't understand why these people are acting this way, or we don't understand how these things are happening, so it must be work of a witch or a werewolf or a devil.
Yeah. So, in absence of modern scientific explanation, ghouls provide a convenient way to explain unexpected deaths or disappearances. The travelers who vanished in the desert or bodies found mutilated in remote areas could be attributed to the work of ghouls. This not only gave a name to the fear of the unknown, but also offered a moral framework through which such deaths could be understood. They just became scapegoats for dangers of the wilderness and people being found mutilated by natural beasts, natural animals.
Yeah, they explain it somehow.
Yeah. Some psychological theories are that ghouls are nothing more than projections of fear. They can be seen as projections of deep-seated human fears, particularly those related to death, isolation, and the breakdown of social order. Ghouls' cannibalistic nature taps into primal anxieties about bodily integrity and the fear of being consumed, both physically and metaphorically.
I would imagine too, like you're not even safe when you're dead, kind of thing. Like I'm buried, and you mean I'm still got to worry about something like trying to kill me or eat me?
Yeah, and
you're already dead.
You look at the teachings around the death in Arab and Islamic world,
the sanctity of the term for that, but
with
like
the religious rites, the things they do to prepare the
preserving
body for the afterlife.
Yeah.
And so
desecrating is like unthinkable.
Big no.
Yeah.
Is a big no-no.
It's in a lot of cultures.
And also like it could be like one of those things where like it can't pass on if it's desecrated.
Right.
So you're kind of dooming it. While it's true in many cultures, the fear of being eaten is one of the most fundamental taboos, representing the ultimate violation of the self. So, like, people are terrified. Like, nowadays, like, the thought of being eaten by whether animal or human, it's terrifying, but dead, what do I care? Hopefully I'm dead.
I would hope so, yeah.
But obviously there's plenty of things throughout history of, like, people eating other people being a huge, both everywhere in the world.
But this one particularly, but the other ones you've done is like, don't go off the beaten path kind of thing. Like, don't stray too far, because if you do, this thing's going to get you.
Your afterlife could be at risk too.
Right. Yeah. Like if you go off on alone, you trust the wrong person, you can die.
Or if you're greedy.
Yeah.
Other things like greedy, not following the teachings of our religious views, religious teachings.
The idea of getting lost.
Yeah.
If you get lost, you can die by this thing, which is terrifying.
So the ghouls associated with graveyards and a tendency to feed on corpses may also reflect fears surrounding death in the afterlife, we just said. The idea of a creature desecrating that. Desecrating graves and consumes the dead would have been particularly horrifying.
Yeah. Some ceremonies for funeral processions, some like go on for like weeks, days. So like the idea, all that planning, very ceremonial, very religious, all over the world. Like, so the idea of defiling that and desecrating that is part of like that part is that process is also the process of the afterlife.
Yep.
Like resting in peace in the afterlife. So the process of defiling that is,
you're robbing that person of resting in peace.
Completely unholy. Yeah.
Another psychological theory is that ghouls represent the fear of isolation and unknown. So they inhabit desolate places. They're associated with the dangers of venturing too far from safety, as we've said. This reflects the broader human fear of being alone, vulnerable, and particularly in environments that are difficult to navigate or understand. In pre-modern Arab societies, where tribal bonds and social structures were essential for survival, the ghoul symbolized the breakdown of these protective systems, leading to the chaos and death. Next is social and cultural theories. Ghouls as moral lessons. From the social and cultural perspective, ghouls serve as moral lessons, reinforcing societal values and norms. Many ghoul stories warn against behaviors such as greed, arrogance, and venturing into dangerous unknown territories, as we said many times. In this sense, ghouls function like supernatural creatures in global folklore, acting as agents of moral retribution. For example, in stories where ghouls lure greedy travelers into traps, the moral lesson is clear as greed leads to ruin.
Yeah.
Similar stories where ghouls prey on those who stray too far from their community emphasize the importance of loyalty, vigilance, and staying within the safety of societal boundaries. These tales often serve to reinforce communal values, teaching people that consequences of violating the norms. In addition to their roles as moral enforcers, ghouls also symbolize chaos and breakdown of order. In many stories, ghouls inhabit places that are far removed from civilization. They are liminal spaces where the normal rules of society do not apply and where danger and disorder is ever present. By placing ghouls in these settings, Arab folklore emphasizes the importance of maintaining social order and the consequences of venturing into spaces where that order does not exist. Let's go into my last theory here is the comparative theories, where it goes into ghouls and global folklore.
Okay.
Kind of bringing stuff together finally. Ghouls' persistence in Arab folklore can also be explained through comparative mythology. It shares similarities with other creatures found in global folklore. In many cultures, these legends of shape-shifting, flesh-eating creatures that prey on humans. For example, the European vampire.
Okay.
Share many characteristics with ghouls, particularly in the connection to death, graveyards, and consumption of human flesh.
That makes sense, yeah.
Native American Wendigo is another example.
Wendigo
is another example of cannibalistic creature that serves as both literal monster and a moral warning.
Yep.
Like ghouls, Wendigos are often associated with isolation and hunger, and their stories reflect fears about survival in harsh environments. These cross-cultural comparisons suggest that the ghoul represents a universal human fear, one that transcends specific cultural contexts and is rooted in fundamental concerns about death, survival, and the body.
Yeah, okay. Similarities
between ghouls and these other folkloric creatures suggest that the figure of a flesh-eating monster is a common way for cultures to express fear about mortality, moral transgression, and the breakdown of social order. By comparing ghouls to similar creatures in the traditions, we can see that the persistence of Arab folklore and part of the broader human tendency to use monsters to explore and explain darker aspects of existence. So again, this all started in pre-Islamic Arabia.
Yeah.
It spread all over the world, but also, when you think about the timeline we're talking here, I mean, this may have led to the vampire stories.
Maybe. Yeah.
This story that kind of spread around the world of ghouls
Sure.
could lead to vampires, could lead to other.
I feel like it certainly, like you mentioned earlier, led to zombies.
Yeah. The modern zombie and Western zombie, basically, is a ghoul.
I just realized when we're talking about ghouls, there's ghouls in Fallout.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they're like normal, they look different, but they're normal first, but then in time, because of radiation poisoning or whatever, they become feral ghouls.
Yeah.
They become more like zombie-like then.
We're talking about Fallout, the video game, or the hit TV show. I've never watched it, but I hear it's great.
It's good.
Okay, so what do you think was going on? What do you think of the story of ghouls?
Well, I like that I know what a ghoul is now.
Yeah.
I like that. So thank
You're
you for
welcome,
that, Chris. Because I was on the fence about what it actually was.
I never even thought about it until when I was starting this. I was like, "The hell's a ghoul?" Whenever someone hear that, and you're like, "What? What does actually a ghoul mean?" And actually, I was, as I mentioned before we started recording, I actually started this. I wanted this episode to be about the Baba Yaga. And when I looked more and when I was doing more research, I'm like, this is just a sad old lady. And it's actually just not scary at all. It's just
this sad story.
It's just sad and not fun. A future episode will be on the Baba Yaga. Maybe in the near future. I don't know when, but because they already have a lot of that written. But
yeah, with ghouls, I always thought I never knew what they exactly were. Those seemed kind of like a gray area for me. They seemed like zombie-like and possibly vampiric-like. So you brought up the vampire thing. I knew they preyed on humans, but I didn't know it was necessarily dead humans, or like they would lure them to their death and then eat them, or just eat them.
It's cannibalistic.
Cannibalistic. I could see the zombie vampire crossover there, possibly being the foundation of those monsters.
Possibly.
Definitely seems that way, right?
And I'm sure if we go to look through other folklore from other cultures, there's going to be something that eats flesh.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
It's a demon or human thing.
And I had no idea this was based. The ghoul started in pre-Islamic history. I had no idea that was the case.
Yeah, I didn't either too. I started researching. I didn't know. I thought it was just probably another Americanism type of thing that was brought in from Western Europe. Yeah. I figured I was looking at this to be a Slavic type of thing, because that's where a lot of stuff comes from too.
Like, my theories are, the one I like is that I think it's definitely a cautionary tale with some definite religious undertones to it, whether it's Islamic or pre-Islamic Arabic history. I think there's a lot of indication towards don't go off on your own kind of thing. Don't leave your tribe or your people. Don't venture out on your own, which I think is kind of interesting.
Stay with the tribe. Yeah. Because also it could be venturing out on your own could be seen as going out, surviving on your own, kind of a rite of passage. Yeah. That teenage boys do, in history, where you got to go out and make your own way. Yeah. But in this teaching, they're don't, because you'll probably die.
Yeah. But with the idea of the idea of exploration, why not? Because it's also this common theme throughout history. We want to see what's out there. We want conquer the land and see what we can do, man can do. But it's kind of interesting that they're no, don't go do that.
Well, in the desert, maybe don't go do that.
Well, also we said a lot is tribal, so these aren't massive. I would assume, because they're tribes, they aren't these massive walled cities. They're probably nomadic tribes.
Or the Bedouins
in the desert. They're in the desert. You can't go off on your own, because we gotta stay together, because we're better off in larger numbers.
Well, they don't say don't explore. They just say explore in groups.
Oh, sure, yeah, right, yeah.
Don't go by yourself.
Yeah, which makes total sense. That makes sense. So you got to do maybe. I'm not saying this is not enough. This is true, because I don't saying his religious stuff is wrong, but I'm saying, but like, I can see this being a cautionary tale, like, don't go do that, because if you go do that, you're going to get eaten by a ghoul.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure these people, these nomadic people, these tribes are seeing people go off on their own and finding their bodies later, not finding their bodies at all, but maybe finding their bodies later eaten by something that was living in the desert or just decayed in the desert.
Well, I mean, there's animals out there that eat.
Yeah.
Dead people. They died from starvation or whatever.
Yeah, either way. Like there's like, oh, something must have this person. We got to come up with some kind of cautionary tale or folklore that may have gotten, passed down orally through time and then eventually became maybe a religious thing. I do like the greed side of it as well. Like, don't be greedy, because if you're greedy, this is going to happen to you.
Well, we also saw this with the the sea monsters.
Yeah,
the ones that were the what's it called, that half goofa that like went down. When you landed on it, you went down because you were trying to be greedy.
Yeah,
and so there's a lot of these folklore type of things around the world, throughout history, throughout humanity. But
then there's a question, like, a lot of times we talk about stuff like this. Is it based on? Where does this actually stem from? Is it based on something?
Yeah,
real? Like, I think it's kind of like through time and through old tradition, like keeps going on and on. It keeps getting more and more sensationalized, exacerbated. Like, is this actually based on something?
Right.
Was there something in the desert like someone saw, whether it's a hyena or something, like, I don't know, some kind of animal out there? They're just like, the hell is that thing?
Well, and it also, when you think about like people, when you see things, I don't know.
No. Anyways, but like,
all I know about hyenas come from the Lion King.
Yeah. They wouldn't laugh like a.
I think in Africa though, and like.
Oh yeah, there's hyenas in Africa, but like.
Northern Africa is where these stories come from too.
Yeah. Oh right. Yeah.
It's not just in the Middle East.
Yep.
Right? We're talking about Northern African cultures.
I think they got to stem from something, right?
Yeah, what started this?
Yeah, there's got to be something. Yeah, there's got to be something there that someone saw, or like something that happened. Someone went missing, or they saw some kind of creature eating a human.
They humanized that creature.
Yeah.
It turned into a thing that could have been human.
We say this with a lot of these, when we talk about creatures, stuff like that. There's something they don't understand, so they have to explain it, and to make something.
Have to get some of the story so they can understand what happened.
Yes. Yeah.
So they can tell the story of like, don't do that.
Right.
This is what I saw.
Yeah.
And have to have some kind of story.
That's what happened when Billy went off on his own.
Yeah. I think you really got to look at, like, again, it all comes down to, do I think there's things called ghouls walking around in Northern Africa or no? Supernatural beings, probably not. But it could have been some other animal that's maybe extinct. Maybe it was...
yet identified animal.
Or maybe it could have been something, when you see it off in the distance, it looks kind of humanistic in the way it's just attacking something. Sure. That's the other thing, is when you see things at night off in the distance, your mind plays tricks on you out in the desert.
Did you say these things have like glowing eyes in the dark too?
I mean, they could.
Yeah.
They could. Those are different situational type of things. Maybe.
Right.
It was reported.
Yeah. All I know is I don't want to see a ghoul. That's for sure.
I like how that whenever you bring in how you can see all the stories about these things and how humans dealt with them up until the 7th century, when Islamic teachings came part of the story.
Yeah.
And they put in that added thing with, like, you can use the word of God. You can use our teachings to fight off. And that's like, maybe that gave people a little more hope of like how to fight back against these things.
I
like,
would.
If we bury you correctly, if we do our funeral rites correctly, then you're going to be fine.
Yeah.
Because we'll use the power of our power of religion, or power of
I would be comforted by that for sure.
Yeah. So I mean, that's like an interesting twist on, like, people are probably terrified. There's probably a lot of people out there that were terrified of this, of this ghoul eating them after they die, and them not being able to go to heaven or them go to the afterlife.
That kind of along the same line. That's why a bunch of cultures all throughout history, all throughout the world, like, did sacrifices. Like, this is going to help my loved one in the afterlife.
Yeah.
Sacrificing whatever it might be, whatever God it might be, protect them in the afterlife. I'm not saying it's the exact same thing. I'm not comparing that to Islam or anything like that. But I'm saying, like, there's these rites that you do for a deceased loved one to make sure that they were fine in the afterlife, or they get to the afterlife.
Yeah, and they come along in, the Islamic teachings come on and say, we will protect you.
Yes.
So you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
Like, stop worrying about the ghouls coming to rob your grave.
And eat your.
We're gonna use God to protect you.
Yes.
And I think that was probably really helpful to some people.
I'd be very comforted by that. If someone told me that.
And also, I think, we see that in a lot of religious teachings that God will protect us.
Yep.
So that's like one important thing. And I think the whole basis of religion in some ways is like helping humanity.
Yeah.
Sure. To just be better.
Yep. Hope.
Yeah. Hope that there's something after.
Yeah. So yeah, what do you think this was?
I mean, I think it was just like misidentification of animals killing things that got twisted, a story that got twisted.
Mm-hmm.
Or it was a cautionary tale that
it could be a
tribes
mixture of a lot of these too.
Yeah, but I wonder how Ghoul got used, throughout. Let me go back and see what that means.
I mean, if these are nomadic people traveling around, like, or would eventually get around too.
So it's like one guy was like, ghouls, everybody, ghouls. And they're like, whoa, what's a ghoul?
Ghouls,
hey, guys.
Ghouls.
You ever ghouls? Yeah, you got selling shirts.
Did you ever ghouls? You guys ever ghouls?
You ever see a ghouls? I wanted to see what it meant again. I can't find that in my notes where that was. A ghoul has its roots in the Arabic word or Arabic verb to seize, to ravage. So that's where it came from. It's interesting that to ravage. The word ghoul, which in Arabic is, I don't know how you do the U with the line above it, but
is it the umlaut?
No, it's a line.
Line.
Two dots.
Oh, line. Sorry. Okay.
I think. The word ghoul, the Arabic verb is gala. It's where it comes from, which is the verb to seize or to ravage.
Okay. Like pirates of the desert.
Yeah, undead pirates of the desert.
Yeah,
but they're not undead. Demon pirates of the desert video game.
That's the thing, though. Zombies are considered undead, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and they talked about that humans can be turned into them.
They're not mummies, that's for sure.
Well, the other thing is, like, could it be that when you're ravaged by a ghoul after death, you then turn into a ghoul, come back from the dead as a ghoul, which would be a zombie?
Oh.
So because you can't go to the afterlife then is what the idea is here. That you don't want to be eaten or ravaged the graveyard because then those people can't go to the afterlife. Zombies do that. They get bit, you die, and you wake up as a zombie.
Yeah, did you mention anything like that? Like if someone's body was eaten by, like, are they eating the whole body? Are they
it doesn't really say. It doesn't really specify how much they eat. Maybe they were too full. They had too many.
They didn't want to.
Watching their figure, yeah. Well, summer's coming up.
Sun's out, buns out.
Yep.
So
sun's out, ghouls out.
Yeah, like what does that mean for the people whose bodies? Does that mean they can't get in the afterlife?
I think that's the idea behind
like they're not whole.
I think that's the idea behind like the birth rates, or like the way that the people in this regions take death so seriously, that the teachings, the things that they do for funerary rites and things is because they want to get to the afterlife.
So what does that mean? If the ghoul eats you, like you can't get that, so that means you possibly can't get the afterlife. So, what is it? Like
some way.
Become a zombie then?
Well, no, I think you're just
become a ghoul.
You just
or
lost.
You're just there.
Like, or you're just there, and I don't know if they really go into where you're at. Like maybe the what's that in between thing? The
purgatory.
Maybe it's the type of thing where you end up in limbo. So I don't know, but I do know. Why don't mummies take off time from work?
Why?
They're afraid to unwind. Yeah. So thank you, everybody out there. Happy Halloween if you're here in the States or wherever if you celebrate Halloween. Have a great holiday season. And if you are listening to us, you can watch us on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, you can listen to us.
Yeah, let us know in the comments if you actually knew what a ghoul was.
Yeah, what the hell is a ghoul?
I never knew until now.
Never knew. Didn't even think about it.
So thanks, Chris, for this ghoulish good time.
Yeah. You're welcome. I don't know how to respond to that in a way that's ghoulish, but I'll just eat your face or something. So if you want to connect with us via social media, all the links to our social media are in the show notes below on Instagram, Facebook, and such, Threads.
Mm-hmm.
You can send us an email if you have a suggestion for a future episode, or if you have questions. We'd love to get a question, read them on the air. That is mysteriousPalsOnline@gmail.com. You can also find all these links in the show notes, like I said, or go over to mysteriouspals.com, where has all of our previous episodes, has all of our contact information. We'd love to hear from you.
Who do the music for us, Chris?
Why don't you tell us?
Bethlehem. You found them in Bandcamp. They're still working on a new album.
Bethlehem is the band that does our intro and outro music. The link is in the show notes if you'd like to connect with them on Bandcamp. Give them some money. Go see a future show. In any case.
And also next week, if you see me here and I'm dead.
With no face.
No face.
Yeah.
It means Chris is a ghoul.
By that time, it'd be so stinky in here. That probably.
Yeah, but you're a ghoul. You don't care.
Why are ghosts such bad liars?
Why?
You can see right through them.
Bravo.
All right, we'll be back next week with another episode. Jordan, thank you for being here.
Thanks, Chris. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween out there. And we'll see you next time. Same mysterious place, same mysterious pals. Good night.